What's it like being on a trading floor on Wall Street in comparison to your bedroom?
When you're in that environment, it pushes you to be motivated. When you're at home, when you're trading from your room, you're not going to take it serious. Once I switch to an office environment, everything is taken to another level of focus. You're forced to do some sort of work because everybody else around you is doing something.
Let's say someone just has made money for a good few months. What do you recommend they do with that money?
But use that money wisely instead of kind of blowing it.
Do you think that you can consciously pick up on something in your psychology?
There's an element of discipline that goes to following the plan, because when you come to the live markets and live charts, your emotions can overturn very, very quickly.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Trader Talk. This week we are still here continuing the conversation with Riz, so let's get straight back into it. I want to talk a bit about your mindset because, like I've said, I think you are the most consistent trader that I've seen and you have a track record to prove it. Do you think that you can consciously pick up on something in your psychology that kind of separates you from the other 99.9% of traders out there?
To be honest, I think like a lot of it comes down to time in the market and experience. Honestly, like that's what and then the lessons I've learned, and I tried to bring that across as much as possible. Like the things I have learned from my years of experience. If it can make even one trader's life easier, I'll always push that out. But I think a lot of it comes down to having gone through, months and years of, for example, bad times in the market, for example, the first couple of years, and learning from those mistakes. And then I started implementing, for example, certain strategies, like, having a trading checklist, trading plan, specific, for example, a very, very specific plan. So, for example, like if I see this, then I want to see this happening. So if it flows like a flow chart almost. And I think that is what kind of allowed me to be consistent in the markets, implementing that. And there's an element of discipline that goes to following the plan as well. Because when you come to the live markets and live charts, your emotions can overturn very, very quickly. Like when you see, like when you're seeing like money, figures, live market conditions, that's why I say like, backtesting is not what is live. Because when emotions are involved, us humans, we cannot block out those emotions. Yeah. But we can implement systems to control it. So that's the same way, like for me, for example, before I was sometimes a very impulsive trader. I hated losing, for example. But now when you understand data, you can understand, look, I can lose 2-3 trades. I can lose, for example, 5 trades in a row at time as well. But knowing, for example, the edge will play out over the period of time. And again, that a lot of it comes from journaling, putting these systems in place and then sticking to it. So for any struggling traders, I'd definitely say, build a system where you can follow and it makes sense to you as well, like a plan, journal. And I don't know, like, I don't want to, in an ignorant way, but to be honest, technical analysis is not, like you can pick that up. It's a skill,
I always
like
say
people try to put it out like it's like something impossible. But I just feel like anything that is good is not going to be easy, right? Look, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. But like with anything good, anything that makes a good amount of money, like you can even like a very, very good photographer or videographer, for example, they have that skill, they have the equipment, years of experience. So yeah, like that's how I see it.
I agree. I think teaching someone how to read the charts is so easy, but the element of managing the emotions while you're in the trades, that is a whole different ball game. And I think most people coming into this industry don't understand what that actually feels like until you're in it. Yeah. And I agree, backtesting, yes, it's great to figure out your strategy, figure out your edge, but actual trading, which you step into those live markets with those emotions, all that backtesting will just be out the window. Yeah. Like, you're not going to think about that when you're in a trade and you're in drawdown, you're, 0.5% in drawdown, you've got a 1% stop loss. You're starting to panic then. Yeah. And as a human, that is natural. how did you manage to manage your emotions? I know you said discipline. What goes into that for you?
So it honestly was just like implementing the systems. Honestly, after after I started losing so much, I was like, you know what? I understand the technicals, but it's not being translated into making money in the market. And I feel like that is, in order to cross that bridge, can be very, very difficult on your own. It took me a long period of time. But I was like, you know, I want to make this work. And I was like, look, how can I put systems in place that allow me to basically perform at that level, where I can, it's hard to show off your emotions, but control. And then having a strict, very, very strict trading plan, very, very strict trading checklist. I follow like a 10-step. I start off, for example, on a Sunday, I have my weekly analysis, and then I look at my daily levels, 4-hour levels, and then my highest probability trades are going to be when they're in line with the higher time frame. So that, for example, is one part of the checklist. If, for example, I open up my charts and I see the market is moving in a direction that's against my, for example, high time frame analysis, that's going to be a lower probability trade. So being able to differentiate between high probability and low probability market conditions, that was for me a key difference to coming over into the consistency.
What work-life balance? Because you come across as someone who doesn't take breaks, but...
Bro, honestly, you know work-life balance. When you're in an industry, when you work for yourself, there's not much work-life balance. As much as people, no, it's true. Like I think like the videographer is saying the exact same thing. Like, you know, when everything is down to yourself, you have the responsibility to perform. If we don't perform, we don't earn, right? If I don't go out there, I'm not gonna make that money. So work-life balance is really like, for example, you'll have weeks where you're working, you know, many hours, 6-7 days a week. But then equally the same way, you'll have some weeks where you can take some time off. And for me, what work-life balance means is I'll work in my routine for like 2 to 3 months, but then I need to like have like a week off. And that's when for example, I'll travel away for a bit. I still stay in touch with everything because you can never really switch off. If I'm away 1 week from business operation, like of course like company is still gonna run, but it's not gonna be and I feel like just like as an owner of a company, it's very important to have that control as well. You know, you understand that as well. So,
of course.
So yeah, work-life balance. It's not on a day-to-day basis, but it's important that you implement some sort of form into your life. Otherwise, I go crazy as well.
Yeah, because you visited New York recently, right?
Yeah. So I just came back.
You visited Wall Street as well.
Yeah.
What was that like? Because everyone, that's the dream, right? Everyone wants to see that.
You know what's funny? I have a picture 10 years ago at that same spot.
Okay.
I said to you, I'm not joking.
There's the ball there as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so the ball's there, and then I took a picture about 10 years ago because I was always fascinated by finance, trading, and then so I was invited out by a team out in New York. So when I went out there, I also met a lot of guys out there because we are expanding into the US market as well.
Wow.
There's a lot of money in the US, and we want to tap into that market as well. So I was out there for a week, and then just being in Wall Street, just being around that environment, you know, being in those hedge funds, seeing how they operate, seeing their offices, and so that's also like New York for us is also where we want to build a base. But yeah, like Wall Street was cool, man.
What's it like being on a trading floor on Wall Street in comparison to your bedroom?
So like I even visited a trading floor in Amsterdam. And there's a few guys out there who have desks there, and I just feel like when you're in that environment, it pushes you, and I was speaking to these guys as well, it pushes you to be motivated. Like I feel like when you're at home, when you're trading from your room, you're not gonna take it serious. You're gonna wake up, you know, kind of roll over the bed, you look at the charts, you know, go back to sleep. And I know this from my own experience. Once I switched to an office environment, everything is taken to another level of focus. It's more professional. And for me, I like to work-life balance. I like to leave work as work and leave my life like. So when you're at home, for example, it's gonna feel like the same. So I think it's very important to split it, keep trading as work and take it serious. As a serious professional, and leave, for example, the normal life as it is. So yeah, when you're in that environment, your mental, you wanna make it work for yourself as well. So you're kind of forced to sit at that desk, even if you're not trading, for example. You're forced to do some sort of work because everybody else around you is doing, they're doing something.
Yeah.
So whereas, for example, at home, you'll be like, okay, look, you look at a chart for maybe a few hours and then wander off and do some other things. Discipline, you don't really have that discipline there. If you're somebody who's struggling, for example, then put yourself in an environment where you're kind of forced to perform.
I agree. Do you think that there's any type of mindset difference in dealing with your own capital in comparison to dealing with investors' capital?
100%. It's a completely different ballgame.
Really?
Like when you are managing investors' funds, there's an element of added pressure now. And also, when you have your own company, there's added pressure because
Everything's on you.
The whole company's reputation lies on results.
Yeah.
If we're not performing, something goes wrong, the whole company can go down. So when you have that added pressure, again, you're going to implement things that are different systems to make sure, we're not overlooking anything. We're making sure, for example, like even with our systems, we have like three-way control systems that, test that, everything is running smoothly. And there's a lot of, communication in that sense and control.
What would be your advice to anyone watching at home who is inspired by you to either get into trading or just take it up that extra level by getting that track record? What would your advice be to them?
First thing I would say is, first try to prove to yourself that, you have an edge in the market. I think that is the most important thing. If you don't have an edge in the market, it's like you'll have a car without an engine running. It's not going to go anywhere. So the first important thing is, proving to yourself that you have an edge in the market. And for example, you can use prop firms to prove to yourself that, you have live funds, live account, and if you're going to extract, consistent profits 6 to 12 months, that is that first element. Okay, look, you have a skill in the market, you have an edge in the market. And then it's about building that track record. And so we always take traders as well. So if there's somebody, who is out there and they want to get involved, for example, 12-month track record is the bare minimum, and then we can start working with you. And then we also have platform where we train traders. So that is a big element as well, what we look at. So it's a complete in-house, everything is in-house. We have, big team. And for me, ultimately, is I want to build something great. I want to leave something behind. I want to build a legacy. And for me, it's exciting being in the space. And I come from a background where I always want to build something and work towards something. And I like challenges. So for me, like this is a big challenge, and it's going to take me years, to go through it. So the next 3 to 5 years, I know, for example, I'm going to be busy with this thing. Sitting at home, sitting in your room, and just trading off your own capital, if the money alone is never going to be fulfillment. Yes, in the beginning, in order to change your life, yes. Once your content at a certain amount of level, for me, it's okay, look, how can I take things to the next level? So I feel like as long as you have that hunger and drive, and I also feel like you should have a real passion towards the industry. You don't need to be crazy about it, but money alone is not going to cut it. Yes, you can make good money, but that alone is not going to leave you in the game for a long period of time. Because eventually you fall off. And you've seen a lot of people.
We've seen so many come and go over the years.
So right now, you're not trading with any props or your own capital. Is it just solely your company?
Yeah. So I trade manually as well, but taking a big step back. But I'll swing trade, for example. For me, before a company owner, I'm a trader myself.
Yeah.
And I take pride in that because it's a skill that took me a long period of time to gain, and I don't want to lose that skill. So in order to stay sharp, I still trade manually as well, but on a more step back, swing trade. I still look at the markets actively almost every day still. But yeah, so for me, I feel like if I stop that, it might make the skill rusty. And it's like with any skill, right? If, for example, a footballer is is not playing at that professional level anymore. He's on the bench for maybe on an injury for maybe 2 years. There's other people who are going to come and take that spot. So I feel like you have to stay sharp in the game. And in business in general, I think.
I agree. Do you use the same strategy that you use for your personal trading for the fund?
Yes, so what we do, so it is a lot of elements from that strategy, but a lot of it is also automated. So I would say like the backbone, yes. And that is what we teach as well out there. So so it's mainly EU, major currencies, some of our other systems. We have different systems, but the main strategy, what we're doing is we're purely running EU. And so a lot of that is automated and it's from data we've fed.
I love that. I think it's just so professional. It's so refreshing to hear this in the space, especially like on a podcast like this as well, because I think we're so used to speaking to just prop firm traders.
Yeah.
And I think it's a completely different world. Like the conversations that we have, even with the podcast that we did last week with David from Think, David Bell, it's just a whole different world of conversation, I feel like, compared to like just the general prop firm trader. So it's so refreshing. I
feel like there's a lot to learn from everybody. Like, you know, like everybody has like different, and that's how I feel as well. Like, you know, you have a different background, you have a different background. And I feel like there's like things you can pick up from each other. And that's why I like having conversations like this as well. It's generally refreshing, you know, even though we're in the same industry, there's like different skills involved, you know, everyone doing that kind of their own thing. And yeah, so for me as well, like I really, really enjoyed having you, and thank you for having me as well. It's been a good chat.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
putting trading to a side, let's say someone just has made money for a good few months. What do you recommend they do with that money? Because of course, it's never permanent, right? Especially when you're working for yourself.
Yeah. So for me, I always look at, you know, how can I build as many cash flowing inflows. So cash generating businesses I look at, and you know, anywhere where I can put my money where it's going to make me some sort of returns. And that's why we built this company for myself. It was not just for myself. It's also because, you know what, we can give opportunity to other people, for example, and how the idea came about as well. Like, for example, once I started trading, for example, family, friends, they're like, oh look, I want to give you money to invest and do this and this. Because they're like, we have money sitting in the bank account, like 10, 20, 50K or whatever. It's not doing anything for them. But for them, for example, an extra £500,000 a month can go far. You know, it can pay your bills, it can pay your car payment. So giving that opportunity to like the regular kind of investor, and that's why kind of we have two complete separate entities for the business. So one, we have the professional investors, and now we have the retail investors. Okay. So we want to give opportunity as well for people. For example, we want to make, for example, an extra £500,000 a month that can essentially, you know, have a big impact in their lives as well. So, for example, anybody who has, for example, made money, and I say this to the young guys as well, right? Who have made money, for example, with props, they've made good money. I said, okay, look, how can you use this now to basically be in a longevity kind of thing? Build like businesses, cash generating business. It doesn't really have to be anything trading or investment related, but use that money wisely instead of kind of blowing it and doing kind of all sorts of different things. Because when you also get desensitized to the money. For example, I know, for example, they'll make like 10, 20K a month and they'll be like, you know what, it's not enough, for example. But when you put it into the real world and how much it can do for you in the real world, and it's also often when it happens in a very, very short period of time. Because if you're doing it over many years, okay, fair enough. If you just, for example, in the first 6 months, made a good amount of money, use it to build something greater. Build, for example, track record, build your personal account, and look at, you know, possible, you know, cash generating businesses. Because for me as well, trading aside, I've always been a businessman. So I always look at opportunities outside as well. So, and I think it's good to be diversified as well.
Absolutely agree, and that is probably the number one reason why I rebranded FX Connect to just Connect, because yes, it's great having a community of traders, but then my thing was always, with trading, you still have to sit there, press buttons, and make a decision and to make your money. Whereas I think people need to understand the concept of using the profits that you're making from trading to then put that into cash flowing businesses, assets, whatever it might be, and diversify how you're making money, because like I say, trading isn't passive, but you can use those trading profits to invest in something that can be passive for you, which obviously that's where the freedom comes in, and like the generational wealth and that kind of thing. So I think it is so important for traders to understand that, like, yes, trading is one thing, but what are you actually doing with those profits? Because I think that is more important than what you're actually doing with your trading.
Yeah, so I was really happy when, and I messaged you as well.
Yeah.
I was really happy when you made that switch over with the Connect, because I feel like trading also has this bad stigma around
Bad.
it. Yeah, so people don't really want to get involved, you know, like, because they're like the most fake and everything. So when you rebranded to Connect, I was really happy with that, because also there's a lot of, like, in the digital world, there's a lot of different industries.
So many out
It's
there.
not just trading, for example, like there's so many different industries, and having like a platform where you're bringing all of these people together.
Yeah.
And like I said, you're gonna learn things from each different individual, different industry. So, and I feel like that was kind of missing. Like, yes, everybody's kind of doing their own thing. For example, property has their own side of social media. You know,
Exactly.
freelance has their own, videography has their own,
Yeah.
social media marketing has their own side of things.
Yeah.
But then and it fits well with the name, Connect, can get the industry together. And I can tell you the way, like, I've met people, and then through network, they've met other people, and then they've grown their
Absolutely.
business. Like, I have a friend of mine, he's a videographer, right? He's 19, making good money, and now he's connected with one of my other friends, and he's giving him loads of work.
Really?
So that's why, like, I feel like network is a big thing. As long as you have a good product, you have a good business, you have some sort of good business model, and at the end of the day, you know, we may not do business together, but I may know somebody that might need your service, or somebody else.
Yeah.
And I feel like at the end of the day, everybody's trying to make a living, everybody's trying to, you know, create something of themselves. And if we can help each other, why not? And that is for me a big, and that's also why I love my industry, and where, for example, where I'm at that kind of level, there's no really competition anymore, because even like these big funds and everything, we partner up to say, okay, how can we grow together? For example, they can use my systems, I can use their clients, their license, like whatever. Like, we're just at that level that where we're all building together now. So there's no really competition, and I like that in this industry for me. And I will always, as long as I know somebody is real, I will always push in any way I can, like with my network, people I know. And again, like, the element of traveling comes in, you know, I meet different people, different backgrounds, and you build your network as that. And I feel like another thing you mentioned was, you know, giving advice to younger people, is as long as you, whatever you do, as long as you're real, as long as you're not doing people wrong, you move with the right direction, you have right intentions, you know, opportunities come to you yourself without you even maybe thinking about it. And that I can tell this from my own experience, that because we have interacted once, for example, you think of that person, you know what, that person was cool, I can connect that person. And that's how a lot of opportunities come to me, just purely natural, because I've had like good interactions with people.
It's so true, and that's something that I'm always on about. Like, the real in this world are so very far and few between. So when I meet people that just have that real sense about them, like, I will hold on to them. Like, for example, that's why I asked you to be part of the Connect community, because I know that you are, like, for the people, you're real about things. But I think it's so important. The biggest thing in business, I think, is relationships. And that is literally what Connect was, like, just putting all these people together to form relationships, and who knows who can collaborate and do what together. So I think,
And even with yourself, I'm pretty sure, like, now, you know, you have that connection with brokers, and, you know, maybe where you're 12 months ago, you didn't really have those connections, right? So it's, again, like, building that network, being in that industry, and just being around the people. So I think
it's like when we first started, we didn't know we were gonna meet all these big people, big brokers and stuff. Of course, like, Tris comes from a different background from me. I come from a different background, and it's like we come together and we end up just meeting big people, and it's like, now they're benefiting from us, we're benefiting from them. It's like, why not? It's working.
Yeah, so that's like everybody wins at that kind of level.
Yeah.
It's a win-win situation, and that's the good thing in the industry as well. For example, that's why I like it so much. Is, you know, we are partnering up to build, and everybody's benefiting from it. There's no, like, just for myself.
I think that's a great place for us to finish off this pod. I love that conversation. I feel like it's like last week. We could literally continue this conversation for ages. But thank you so much for coming on today, especially such short notice.
Honestly, I appreciate having you guys, and I don't know Becca as well. Like we've interacted before as well. So
on socials.
So I would definitely want to meet you, and it's been a good conversation. So I really appreciate you guys having me.
You're always welcome here, bro.
No, I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as always, guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of Trader Talk, and make sure you come back next week for another episode.